You're listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You guys are checking me out live. Don't forget you can always be a part of the program by tweeting me. That's at DrewDuncan83, which official fan page of Full Court Press is on Facebook. You can talk to me there at DrewDuncan83 as well. And for anybody that may be on Instagram, I am on there at DrewDuncan83. Is anybody else sick and damn tired of hearing about Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather? Is anybody else just kind of had it? Look, we have dissected this thing 6 ways from Saturday, and it's just gotten annoying. I mean, to be honest with you, the lead up, at least it's been fairly entertaining, the lead up, you know, and obviously, McGregor having that whole situation with Magalini and all that stuff going on. And then they got into it yesterday and everything, all this stuff happening in Vegas. And of course, I can't wait to see what's going to happen with the weigh-ins. But really outside of that, it's been worse than the Super Bowl. At least with the Super Bowl, it's 2 weeks of lead up. And, you know, the last week is when it really is just kind of like, oh man, come on, let's just play this game already, you know? But this has been months in the making, and it's just gotten so old. I just want to see the fight, man. I just want to see the fight happen. And I just don't want to be disappointed. Yeah, you know, there's a part of me that believes that McGregor has the puncher's chance. Yeah, but I've already dissected all that. See, that's the thing. Like, what else, what new can I really offer anybody by getting on here and talking about Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather? Think about all the people that think they're boxing experts all of a sudden. People that have never watched boxing a day in their life since probably Lennox Lewis was the heavyweight champion of the world. And now all of a sudden they're boxing experts. You've got some people that just, and look, I get it. It's fun to dissect it and talk about it, but man, I am so over it. And I've kind of been over it after the whole little Mayweather money tour thing that they did. It was just kind of like, all right. And really, it was after the second stop in Canada, I was already kind of over it, to be honest with you. I really was. After that, it was like, okay, you know, we should leave this here because that was friggin' awesome. But now it's just kind of like, you know, and, you know, the whole thing has just gotten out of control. It really has. And I think that the worst part about it to me has been the very fact that, McGregor and Mayweather have both sort of embraced this mentality of it doesn't really matter what I say or do, it's a fight. Now, there are a lot of things to where I'm like, dude, it is a fight, like let it go. But I think that to the public, a lot of things have just kind of come off as, you know, we're trying too hard. You guys are doing too much. You're saying too much. And a lot of people just aren't buying it anymore. And while there are a lot of people who are just merely pretending that they're not going to bother to watch this fight because they're going to see the end result on Facebook anyway, I think that there are a lot of people that are actually very serious when they say, dude, I am not going to bother. I've got something else that I'm going to do. Me, on the other hand, I wouldn't matter if I was a sports broadcaster or not. I wouldn't miss that fight for the world. I mean, I just, there's no reason to not see that fight. There's really not. The worst part about all this is that if you do watch the fight and it is a travesty, well, then what? Because see, to me, the great thing about this fight is that it could open up so many more doors. I mean, obviously we saw Muhammad Ali do it back in his day, you know, when he took on a wrestling fighter, an MMA guy, so to speak. But to me, this could really open doors for really big fights, for people to start kind of crossing over. And believe it or not, I think you will see boxers cross over to the UFC. I think they'll give it a shot. I really do. And maybe not necessarily the UFC, but MMA in general, because obviously you got Shamrock, you have Bellator, some other really good promotions. Obviously David Rickles here in Wichita, Kansas with his EFC is a very balanced approach. He does Muay Thai and kickboxing and MMA, and he's got titles, and there's boxing matches and all that good stuff. So there's a lot of different things that can happen when you've got a promotion like that. I think that it's entertaining, and I think that this could be the building block to, we can start running and seeing promotions that will have multiple types of fights on it. Now, granted, Mayweather said from the beginning, there's not going to be any MMA here. It's going to be a strict boxing undercard, period. That's fine. But I think that it's going to open up the door for that, which I think will be great for sports. I really do. Unless this fight sucks. If it sucks, nobody's going to give a damn. Nobody's going to want to see it. Can you imagine a guy like Nate Diaz in the UFC with his long reach going in and being a boxer? I think that would be very entertaining to watch. Can you imagine boxers crossing over? Especially a lot of these welterweight guys. You think about Canelo and Alvarez, and maybe even a guy like Oscar De La Hoya back in his day with the kind of hand speed that he had. Can you imagine him getting into a UFC type octagon situation and being in there and wrestling around with some of these guys? I think it would have been very entertaining. I would love to start seeing mixed cards. I would love to start seeing more of that. I'm glad that David gets a lot of those sanctions to happen here in Wichita, because to me, it's a little bit more entertaining when you get to see all kinds of different styles. The one thing that I think that people do forget is that when you're a promoter and you put a fight together, you don't necessarily ever know what you're going to get. And I know a lot of fans have seen enough Mayweather fights, or at least heard enough about Mayweather fights to go, man, he's just going to duck and run like a chicken. But I've already addressed that, and this is the last time I'm going to do it, and I'm probably never going to do it again, unless it's absolutely necessary. And I'm going to be very quick and to the point about this, very concise. There was a time when Mayweather was just pretty boy Floyd and was knocking everybody out. But as he continued to increase in weight class, he didn't have a choice but to become an even better defensive fighter. He had to pick his punches a little bit more carefully, and he had to figure out different ways to work around the wing. There's nothing wrong with that. You got to do what you got to do. But it was a catch-22 for Mayweather, because if he would have stayed where he was at, well, what would that really have done for him? Nothing. Really nothing. So he didn't have a choice but to move up in weight class. It's a point-blank situation. Whereas McGregor is concerned in this fight, regardless of what people want to say about how slow he is, he can be right about precision. And the philosophy has carried him pretty good to this point. Do I think that it's fair that McGregor was able to go from a $3 million fight to a $100 million fight? Yeah, probably not. But I think it's safe to say that he is the biggest name in all of MMA. Outside of maybe John Bones Jones, who obviously may have blown his reputation here lately, with the alleged incident of him testing positive for steroids again. Outside of that, who are the guys? You don't have a Ronda Rousey anymore. McGregor is pursuing other things. What do? You got to go out and find somebody. So he was the big money fight. He said he was, and he is. I think he's proven that. Did he use Mayweather to get that? You could say it. But regardless of whatever Mayweather says, I will say this. I think McGregor was awesome in being the guy to draw him out of retirement. And I really do believe that McGregor was able to get in his head enough at least for that. Now, whether or not he's going to be able to stay there with all the tactics that he's tried to do, who the hell knows? But I think that we all have one commonality in this fight, regardless of whether or not you want to see Mayweather win or McGregor win, or whether or not you really don't give a damn. At the end of the day, I know that we all have one common denominator as fans and journalists alike. We just want to see a good fight.